Ramit's 10 money rules. I just want to go through these 10 money rules because you mentioned prenups there, and I was quite curious that number 10 in these rules is marrying the right person. But let's start at number 1.
Mm-hmm.
Always have 1 year of emergency funds.
Yeah. So for me, 1 year of emergency fund is conservative. It's more conservative than most. Lets me sleep at night, and I just keep the cash in a savings account. It's not under my pillow. Cash does not mean it's sitting under my bed. Please don't try to rob me. It's cash in a savings account, totally liquid, and that's what it's for. Emergencies.
Rule number 2, save 10%, invest 20% of gross annual income.
Yeah. This is all about the numbers that I shared and being more aggressive with them. I know that paying myself first now turns into way more later, so I invest aggressively.
Rule 3, pay cash for large expenses like engagement rings or big holidays or weddings.
Yeah. This one is controversial because for the things that are important to me, I don't want price to be the number one concern. So I'd rather save up for it. When I was in my 20s, before I ever met my wife, I knew one day I would get married. And because I'm Indian, I knew we would have a big wedding and I wanted it to be amazing. So I started putting money aside every single month automatically. I do the same thing for trips, house, etc.
Rule 4, never question spending money on books, appetizers, health, or donating to a friend's charity fundraiser.
Yeah. So the books and the appetizers are a little weird. I have something called Ramit's book buying rule, which means if you ever see a book that you're even remotely interested in, just buy it. Don't ask a question, don't equivocate, just get it. Because if you can learn one thing from that book, it can transform your life. Appetizers, when I was a kid, we couldn't afford to eat appetizers. So we would eat out every 6 to 8 weeks. If we had a coupon, we'd usually go to a pizza place. Getting appetizers was inconceivable. So now when I eat out, to be able to see 1 or even 2 appetizers that look good, I go, yeah, I'll take them both. It feels incredibly rich. And this is just an example of how our childhood sticks with us. It feels awesome to be able to do that.
Rule number 5, business class flights on flights over 4 hours long.
Yes. Again, my money rules, not for anyone else. When I was in my early 20s, I would get on a flight and I would actually in my head scoff as I was walking from the front of the plane to the back. I'd be like, why would anyone spend 4 times the money paying for a first class ticket? It makes no sense. We're all getting to the same place. Ha ha ha. I wish instead of disparaging that, I would have gotten curious. And I wish I would have said, wow, if somebody can afford to get those seats, why would they? I wonder what they're spending money on. Aren't we all getting to the same place? And if I had gone from disparagement to curiosity, from D to C, I would have understood that some people have their office paying for it. Some people do it for health because they want to get there. They want their back to feel good. They maybe need to go to a meeting. And some people just have enough money that they can do what they want. And when I started to become more curious about money, that opened up my eyes to be able to spend on certain things and spend extravagantly, but also to realize, wow, maybe I try this certain type of food once. Cool. I don't need to do it again. So for me, my money rule, so that I don't have to decide every time I take a flight, boom, this is my guideline. It's done. It's written. Never have to think about it again.
Rule 6, buy the best and keep it as long as possible.
Yes, I love this. I think we all intuitively have this idea of quality over quantity, but if you look in somebody's closet or you look at the things in their house, there may be some incongruity. So for example, my car is 17 years old. It's a good car. For me, it was a fine car. I don't care. It rides fine. It's a 4-door Honda Accord. I told you, very sensible, long-term, great. Buy the best, keep it for a long time. It's the same with clothes. Those things matter to me. I like that. And so I'll buy something that might seem very expensive, but I'll keep it for a long time.
Good for the environment as well.
Yeah.
Rule 7, no limit on spending on health or education.
Yeah, this one is important. I learned when I was in my 20s and I started training and learning from personal trainers and nutritionists that I really loved it. And I also realized that I needed help. I needed great teachers. And so eventually I just realized I'm going to give myself unlimited spending on this. Same for education. So I'm a teacher. I teach different programs. Of course, I'm a student as well. I want to learn from great teachers. from taking accounting classes here at Columbia to buying every conceivable book and digital program there is. I've given myself the freedom to do that. And all that came from, I had a scholarship. I had many scholarships that paid my way through college. And one of the scholarships set up an account for me at the Stanford bookstore. So when I walked in there, I could get literally any book I wanted. It was like Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. For a guy like me to have unlimited books, it was like unbelievable. And when I graduated from college, I realized that would be going away. And then I remember having this conversation with myself and saying, how much would it really cost to recapture that feeling of being able to get anything I wanted? See a book on the bookshelf, I'll get it. And the answer is really not that much. So over time, that then expanded to health and education.
Health I find really compelling because it's clearly the most important foundation of all of this. It's clearly the most lucrative investment any of us could make, because everything we've described, the rich life, doesn't exist without that foundation.
Yeah.
So it's all good investing in your Vanguard, but it doesn't matter at all if you're going to die.
Yeah. If you ask people what's important to you, they'll often give you the same answers. They'll say relationships, health, maybe travel.
Career, maybe?
Yeah. I go, okay, let's take a look at your spending. Show me where you spend on those things. It gets really quiet really fast. Now, it's one thing to spend time on relationships, and we should, but we can also spend money to enrich those things. It might be surprising your niece at a showing of Michael Jackson, or it might be surprising your family by going home and visiting them. There are lots of ways you can use money to enrich those experiences. Same for health. It could be what you buy at the grocery store. It could be training or a gym membership. It could be whatever it is that's meaningful for you. But if we claim something's important to us, it sure better show up in our time and our spending.
Rule number 8, earn enough to work only with people you respect and like.
I love this one. I decided long ago that I only want to work with people that I like and respect. And so I earn enough money so that I can do that. And to me, who you surround yourself with matters profoundly. Ideas seep into your consciousness. Values seep in. If I'm around people who, when I look at the calendar, when I have a meeting with them, I dread it, I already know it's the beginning of the end.
Most of us have to work with assholes though, right? Like
Yeah.
no, I say have to, I shouldn't use that word. I don't like saying have to, but most of us spend most of our lives, especially the early part of our lives, working with assholes.
We work with people that we may not particularly choose ourselves. I think that's
Assholes.
probably... So yes, I built a life where I could make that decision for myself.
Yeah.
I'm the CEO of my business, but I think what is important there is the intentionality behind it. It's like, even if I worked at a company, I would be deciding on which division I want to work in, which boss I want to transfer under, based on do I like and do I respect him. That's it. The intention is there. Again, these are my rules, not anybody else's. But if this one strikes you, then the way that I would interpret this is, wow, who in my life do I not like? Who do I not respect? Do I need to be around them? Maybe it's not work. Maybe it's the friend that I hang out with socially on Saturdays. Again, we have a choice, not on everything, but in the things we do have a choice. What a shame if we don't use it.
Rule number 9, prioritize time outside the spreadsheets.
Yeah. Too many nerds love a spreadsheet and they go, I got to optimize cell B43. B43 never talk back to me. I go, all right, look, yes, you need to know your numbers. Yes, you should be automatically saving and investing, all that. Yes, do the conscious spending plan. But at a certain point, you won. The turkey is cooking. You won. You know your numbers. Turn the page, get out of the spreadsheet. A rich life is lived outside of the spreadsheet. So on a personal level, that means I spend less than 1 hour per month on my finances. It all runs. It's a machine. It's a system. I speak to my wife. We talk once every couple of weeks about money. Besides that, do not spend time tweaking, because the rich life is lived having conversations like this, seeing friends, seeing my family. That's where I want to live, not tweaking things endlessly for no marginal gain.
Number 10, you mentioned your wife there. Marry the right person.
Yeah. Maybe the most important one of all. Marriage is the most consequential financial and relational decision we ever make. And people, they're a little weirded out by this rule. They go, what does this have to do with money? I go, what do you mean? The partner you choose will affect where you live, what you spend on a day-to-day basis, what type of house you buy if you do, how often you travel, the values if you have children that you pass down to kids. Of course it's important. And so these are conversations that if you are starting to date, it's a great time. There's natural moments in the dating process or even the relationship process where you can bring up money. So it's like the first time you take a vacation together, you take a trip, you go, hey, just want to, this is on my mind. I'd love to just like put it out on the table. Love that you invited me on this trip. I'm so excited to go. I'm just curious, how were you thinking about paying for the trip? Who in your mind pays for it? How would you see us splitting this? That's a great way to bring it up, and you learn a lot about your partner. There are questions you can naturally ask. How were you raised with money? What do you remember your parents telling you? Here's what I remember about my parents. Genuine curiosity. It also tells you a lot about your partner. And then there's a few other natural moments in a relationship where it just makes perfect sense to talk about money. When you get engaged, when you get married, if and when you move in together pre or post marriage, if and when you have children, there are these natural moments where you get the gift of being able to talk about money.
Do people talk about money? Couples?
They talk about it when something goes wrong.
Outside of that, what sort of percentage of couples do you think talk about money?
Rarely. It's very low. I know. I speak to them all the time. I ask them, when do you talk about money? They go, when we're fighting. Or when they talk about it, it's like, it's these grooves that have been created for 40 years. Oh, every time she goes to Target, she spends too much. Ha ha ha. And I'm like, that's not that funny. Like, the running joke between you is that she spends too much at Target.
Sounds like resentment.
Yeah. Why not it be something different so that when you talk about money once a month, proactively, you always start off complimenting your partner. You go, you know what? I really appreciate that when we travel, you always pick the best flights. I have total trust because you always get us there on time and you pick the flights that are so comfortable, and I just love you for that. That's a great way to reframe how we talk about money. But instead, we often simply do not talk about it proactively. We only talk about it when something is a problem.
If you love the Diary of a CEO brand and you watch this channel, please do me a huge favor. Become part of the 15% of the viewers on this channel that have hit the subscribe button. It helps us tremendously, and the bigger the channel gets, the bigger the guests.